In the most remote villages of the Omo Valley in southern Ethiopia lies an ancient mystery, a millennia-old tribe that has endured for centuries, known as the HAMER. This tribe has remained isolated from the rest of the world, managing to survive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth, and maintaining controversial rituals such as Ukuli Bula, or bull jumping, a tradition in which women beg to be whipped, while a young man must run naked over the backs of several bulls to be considered a man. This community is also unique for the beauty of its men and women, who dye their hair red and cover their bodies with animal fat, adornments, and even scars, as symbols of power. These unique traits make them one of the most filmed and photographed tribes on the planet. This reality has a lot to do with the fact that they live as they did thousands of years ago, without wearing clothes, and displaying scars and marks that indicate their personal history, celebrating marriages based on the exchange of cows, and making it possible for some men to have up to 10 wives. Pay attention, and don't miss this new video from Uncensored World. Soon you will join us in discovering what is probably one of the most fascinating and unknown tribes on the planet. Let's get started. Before meeting the HAMER, it is important to understand that much of what makes them unique, both in their physical appearance and in their customs and traditions, is due to where they live, more specifically in southern Ethiopia, in the remote and wild region of the Omo Valley. This valley, crossed by the Omo River, is a place of extreme contrasts: arid plains, rugged hills, and rivers that meander through an almost prehistoric landscape. This area is considered one of the most unknown and extraordinary corners of the planet, as life here seems to have stood still and modernity has barely arrived. Discovering the Omo Valley and the HAMER people can be one of the most time travel-like experiences, as you will now discover in this video. The Omo Valley, located southeast of the regional capital Jinka and northeast of Lake Turkana, is an isolated and difficult-to-access region. Its roads are mostly dirt tracks, crossed by rivers that become impassable during the rainy season. The climate is extreme. The heat can be suffocating during the day, easily exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, while the nights, although cooler, do not completely alleviate the dryness and dust of the valley. For all these reasons, living here is not easy, and the geography itself has been a determining factor in the HAMER people, maintaining their isolation and unique lifestyle for centuries. The Omo Valley is not only inhospitable, but also a place full of tensions and challenges. Water and food shortages make communities heavily dependent on livestock and subsistence agriculture. Life in the Omo Valley is governed by natural cycles. The rains dictate the harvests, the pastures determine the health of the livestock, and the Omo River marks the boundaries between villages and tribes. For the HAMER, the most precious commodity is not land, nor harvest, nor even gold. For the HAMER, there is nothing more important than their cows. Cattle are the measure of wealth, the symbol of status, and the core of the tribe's economy. A woman's dowry, when she marries, is also usually paid in the number of cows, and it is not uncommon for a woman to cost a dozen or more cows depending on her family status and beauty. This dependence on cows is closely linked to the social structure of the HAMER. Many men practice polygamy, with most HAMER men having between 2 and 4 wives, but there have been documented cases of some men having up to 10 wives at a time. Be that as it may, we imagine that it is not easy for them, as each union is accompanied by the delivery of cows. The more wives a man has, the greater his prestige and perceived wealth, but also the greater his responsibility to protect his cattle. Each marriage is consolidated by the delivery of cows as a dowry, and the more cows a man owns, the more wives he can support. However, the first wife always occupies a special place. She is the one who enjoys the greatest prestige and authority within the home and family. Her opinion carries more weight in important decisions. She supervises the tasks of subsequent wives, and her status symbolizes her husband's honor before the tribe. While subsequent wives also fulfill essential roles, their hierarchical position is lower, and their influence within the family depends largely on the respect given to them by the first wife and the number of children they have. This structure reflects how the HAMER combine polygamy with a delicate balance of respect, hierarchy, and tradition, where wealth in cattle, family order, and relationships between wives are key elements of social cohesion. For a woman, belonging to a man with many cows means security, status, and participation in community life. Losing them would be the worst of fortunes, as cattle represent survival and social position. As you can see, for the HAMER, cows are not only an economic resource, but also a cultural symbol. They are cared for with dedication, births are celebrated, and any loss is mourned as if it were a member of the family. Young people learn from an early age to herd them, protect them from predators and theft by other tribes, and families organize ceremonies where the most beautiful and strongest cows are displayed, demonstrating wealth and power. In every home, the presence of cows marks the stability and strength of the family, and the most valuable jewel a man can have is his cows. The lives of HAMER women are also intertwined with this relationship with cattle. Their status and beauty are often measured by their connection to their husbands' or family's cattle. The dowry paid in cows reinforces the idea that women and cattle are symbols of wealth and continuity for the tribe. This bond between men, women, and cattle culminates in the most important ritual for young men: the bull festival, the Ukuli Bula, the HAMER initiation ceremony, where young men must climb onto the backs of bulls without clothes, demonstrating courage and strength to be recognized as adult men. While the men complete the test, the women participate in a very significant way, asking to be whipped as part of the tradition. Later, we will go into all the details of these practices and rituals. But first, we need to continue exploring the history of these lands, the remote past and challenging present of the HAMER. To understand why their way of life has remained almost intact for centuries in such an extreme and isolated environment. The isolated geography of the valley where they live also explains why the HAMER have been able to preserve their traditions intact. For thousands of years, the tribe has remained in remote villages, far from the influence of cities, governments, or tourists, maintaining customs that to any outsider may seem like something from another time. Their ceremonies, such as Ukuli Bula, their minimal clothing, their hairstyles, ointments, and rituals, are not reconstructions for tourists. They are living practices passed down from generation to generation, exactly as they were performed centuries ago. Every detail in the HAMER's appearance has a meaning, a purpose, and a story behind it, allowing us to understand how the tribe relates to nature, community, and tradition. One of the most striking elements are the necklaces worn by women, as they are not simple adornments, but rather the number of them, the material used, and the type of necklace indicate the woman's marital status. A necklace of a certain type can indicate that the woman is married, and if her husband has several wives, it also indicates the order in which she was married. Another necklace design may show that she is single, while a very special style indicates that she is the first wife of a polygamous man, thus granting her a place of authority and respect within the household. These codes allow any member of the tribe to instantly recognize a woman's social position and whether or not she is available for marriage. The clothing they wear, or rather what they do not wear at all, is another striking feature. Due to the intense heat of the Omo Valley, the HAMER people tend to wear leather loincloths, belts, and various adornments instead of full clothing. Women, following tribal tradition, do not usually wear bras or tops to cover their torsos, as nudity is part of their culture and rituals and has nothing to do with exhibitionism, but rather with ancestral practices adapted to the climate and environment. The HAMER also do not wear underwear, and this lifestyle has nothing to do with exhibitionism. It is more of a ritual and cultural practice that symbolizes purity, connection to the earth, and authenticity within ceremony and everyday life. This life without clothes also makes sense when you look at the scars worn by HAMER men and women. For members of this tribe, these marks are not mere adornments, as each scar has a deep meaning, representing courage, passage into adulthood, personal achievements, or loyalty to the community. Men, for example, often make ceremonial incisions on their arms, chest, or back, proudly displaying their strength and endurance, while women also bear marks symbolizing their dedication and participation in tribal rituals. In the case of women, some of these scars often come from the Fiesta del Toro, where they participate by asking to be whipped. This ritual, far from being an act of imposed suffering, is for them a symbol of pride, courage, and fidelity to their traditions and their community. That is why the resulting marks become a visual language that communicates to the tribe the strength, endurance, and commitment of each individual, reinforcing their identity and social position within the group. In this way, adornments and scars complement each other in the same message. Each bodily element conveys information about the person, their history, and their role within the community. The skin becomes a living canvas, where aesthetics, ritual, and tradition intertwine in a way that only members of the tribe can fully interpret. The time has come to go into detail about the Bull Festival, as what you are seeing may seem crazy to you, but as you will see, for the HAMER, it all makes perfect sense. The Bull Festival, known among the HAMER as Ukuli Bula, is the central ritual that marks the passage of young people into adulthood. This ceremony does not have a fixed date on the calendar, but is celebrated when the community considers that a group of young people has reached sufficient maturity, usually around the age of 15 or 16. When this happens, the elders and tribal leaders are responsible for determining who is ready to participate, based on their strength, skill, and knowledge of customs. The origin of Ukuli Bula dates back to ancient times and is deeply linked to the importance of cattle in HAMER society. The test symbolizes a young man's ability to face physical challenges, take on responsibilities within the community, and demonstrate that he is prepared to care for livestock and his future family. Every aspect of the ritual has meaning for them, from the selection of the bulls to the arrangement of the spectators, which include family members and members of the entire village. The ritual begins with the preparation of the bulls, animals that represent strength and endurance for this tribe. Young men must run and jump over the backs of at least 7 bulls, lined up one after another, to pass the test and be considered adults. This act is not a physical spectacle, but rather a test of courage, balance, and endurance, as any fall can mean that the young man will have to wait longer before being recognized as an adult. The number of bulls and the difficulty of the test vary according to the local tradition of each HAMER village. The participation of women and the way they do it is one of the most striking and eye-catching elements of the Bull Festival. During this ceremony, some women ask to be whipped with sticks, showing courage, commitment to tradition, and pride in their community. This act, far from being an obligation, is voluntary and desired. For them, receiving the lashes is a symbol of strength and a means of demonstrating their loyalty to the values of the tribe. The resulting scars are considered marks of honor, visible to all, and recognized as part of the community's body language. If you are enjoying learning about this tribe and this controversial tradition, don't hesitate to give us a like and subscribe to Uncensored World if you haven't already. As you can see on this channel, you can discover the world like nowhere else, so thank you. The whipping also has a social and emotional component. During the ceremony, the women who participate show their strength and beauty, which can attract the attention of the young men who are initiating themselves. This is a kind of ritual courtship and flirtation, although it does not imply immediate intimate relationships. Rather, it is a game of signs that allows young men and women to interact within the framework of tradition, and perhaps to consider who their future wife might be. Passing the bull test means that the young HAMER is considered an adult man within the community. Tribal leaders and elders watch closely, and only they can declare whether the young man has successfully completed the Ukuli Bula. Achieving this status means access to greater responsibilities, social recognition, and, in many cases, the right to marry and receive dowries of cows to start their own family. During the ceremony, young HAMER men do not receive physical scars. but some villages do apply symbolic marks on their arms or backs to indicate that they have completed this initiation. These signs serve as visible testimony of bravery and maturity, similar to the scars of the women who participate in the whipping. On some exceptional occasions, symbolic prizes are awarded in recognition, which may include a young bull from the community herd or approval to choose their first wife. For the HAMER, every gesture, every jump over the bulls, and every whipping of the women is imbued with symbolism and tradition. The skin becomes a canvas that reflects courage, strength, and active participation in community life. For the HAMER, Ukuli Bula is not just a rite of passage. It is an act of identity, connecting youth with their ancestors, with livestock, and with the community. This intense and visually striking ritual allows us to understand the interdependence between men, women, livestock, and community, showing how a ceremony can summarize centuries of tradition, culture, and symbolism in just a few hours of celebration. Another unique aspect that stands out among the HAMER at first glance is the hair of their women. This is perhaps one of the most iconic and visually striking features, as they mix lard and red ochre to dye and shape it into braided and sculptural hairstyles that last for weeks. This mixture gives their hair a bright red color that is not only an aesthetic adornment, but also a symbol of femininity, beauty, and status within the community. Hairstyles can indicate a woman's age, social position, and sometimes even personal achievements. In addition, women also typically apply animal fat and pigments to their skin, creating a golden or reddish glow that protects them from the scorching sun while enhancing their beauty. This body ointment serves a dual purpose. On the one hand, it protects against the sun's rays and insects. On the other, it allows women to stand out during ceremonies, dances, and social gatherings, making them appear more sensual and attractive. For all these reasons, the practice of covering oneself with fat is also considered an act of personal care and connection with ancestral tradition. HAMER adornments are not limited to necklaces and hairstyles. Copper and wooden bracelets, bangles, and earrings are common, and each piece has a specific meaning or is a gift from a family member or husband. The accumulation of these adornments reflects the history of the woman, her family, and her role within the tribe, functioning as a visual language that communicates a great deal without the need for words. At this point, we would like to ask you, would you be willing to climb on the back of a bull to prove your manhood, or ask to be whipped to demonstrate your power and courage? How many cows do you think you are worth? Pause the video and leave us your comment. You know that doing so is the best way to support Uncensored World and help us continue working to create interesting content like this every week. So thank you. The visual lifestyle of the HAMER people has a practical component for them. For example, loincloths in the absence of underwear allow for greater freedom of movement, which is essential in an environment where hunting, herding, and ceremonies require agility. At the same time, this choice reflects a cultural philosophy. What is visible is symbolic, what they cover and adorn is intentional, and their bodies also reflect their lives and their own history. Colors also play an important role. The red, white, and yellow pigments applied to the skin and hair are not merely decorative. They represent the earth, fertility, and connection to ancestors. Another interesting detail is that the HAMER do not use conventional combs. Their braided hairstyles covered with ochre are shaped with their hands and small wooden tools, allowing them to create shapes that look like small living sculptures on their heads. Some hairstyles can last for weeks, retaining their color and shape while the woman participates in daily life and ceremonies. The use of grease and pigments also has biological curiosities. The ointments help repel mosquitoes and other insects and act as a natural protection against the dry climate and intense sun. As you can see, all these examples demonstrate how aesthetics and functionality combine in HAMER traditions. All these elements, necklaces, hairstyles, pigments, minimal clothing, and adornments, intertwine to create a complete visual language, where each person can read another at a glance and know their personal history. Clothing and adornments are a tool for communication and a marker of tribal identity, And although some outside observers may consider them extravagant or flashy, for the HAMER they are essential elements of their culture and social survival. The region where they live, in addition to being geographically isolated, is marked by great tribal diversity. The HAMER live in close proximity to other communities such as the Daasanak, Karo, and Mercy, each with their own customs and territories. This proximity creates a complex dynamic: alliances, marriages, and trade between tribes, but also disputes over resources and livestock. Disputes often revolve around the most precious resources: water, pastures, and livestock. These tensions can manifest themselves in small ritual confrontations, strength competitions, or cattle races, where the bravery and skill of each tribe's members are put to the test. At the same time, these rivalries foster strategies of defense and internal cooperation, making village organization, vigilance, and community support the essential elements for survival in this challenging environment. In addition to neighboring tribes, the HAMER must continually coexist with Africa's most dangerous predators. Among the most common are lions, which pose a direct threat to livestock and, on occasion, to people. To protect themselves, the HAMER reinforce their villages with wooden fences and thorny bushes, and place their livestock in the center of the circles of houses at night, creating a natural barrier that makes it difficult for felines to access. As a result, to protect themselves from predators and the dangers of the Omo Valley, the HAMER build their villages in a very strategic manner. Their houses, called tukul, are made of mud, wood, and straw, and are usually arranged in circles or semicircles around a central open space. This design not only facilitates surveillance, but also creates a safe space for livestock at night, preventing lions or other wild animals from attacking cows, goats, and sheep. In addition, low roofs and compact walls help protect families from the scorching sun and dust storms, demonstrating how their houses, like their traditions, clothing, and accessories, serve to adapt to this extreme environment. As you have seen, the geographical isolation of the HAMER has been key to preserving their extraordinary culture. This tribe continues to live in remote villages, far from modern cities, keeping their traditions, rituals, and aesthetics intact for centuries. This separation from the modern world has made it possible for generations of HAMER to grow up following the same codes of conduct, ceremonies, and social organization as their ancestors, keeping one of Africa's most iconic cultures alive. However, this same characteristic puts them in a delicate situation as their way of life is threatened by globalization, environmental changes, and the development of hydroelectric projects in the Omo Valley. The pressure on their land and natural resources may directly affect the tribe's subsistence and limit their ability to continue maintaining the culture and lifestyle that has characterized them for millennia. But despite their isolation and challenges, the HAMER have become one of the most filmed and photographed tribes in the world. Their lifestyle, ceremonies, and the impressive aesthetics of their men and women attract photographers, documentary filmmakers, and tourists from all over the planet. This has sparked debates about cultural exploitation and responsible tourism, as some visits can interfere with rituals or turn ancestral practices into a spectacle. Many others believe that this visibility has also made it possible to document and disseminate a culture that would otherwise be even more unknown. If you've come this far, you're probably interested in knowing how you can get to know and visit this remote and fascinating tribe. At Uncensored World, we've done extensive research to offer you a practical guide that will allow you to plan your trip, respecting the HAMER culture and enjoying the richness of the Omo Valley. To get to Ethiopia from the Americas, the most common option is to fly to Addis Ababa, the country's capital. There are direct flights or flights with one stopover from major cities such as New York, Los Angeles, or Miami. From Europe, you can fly from London, Paris, or Frankfurt, usually with a stopover at an international hub such as Istanbul or Doha. As for visas, citizens of the United States and most European countries need a visa to enter Ethiopia, which can be obtained online as an e-visa before traveling. The process is quick and easy, and usually costs around $50 per person for a 30-day tourist trip. The cost of living in Ethiopia is very low compared to Western countries, which is another incentive to visit the HAMER people. A typical meal, for example, can cost between $2 and $5, while local transportation and basic accommodation in cities can range from $5 to $15 per night. This makes the country a very affordable destination for travelers seeking authentic experiences without spending a fortune. To reach the Omo Valley region, you need to fly or travel by road from Addis Ababa to Jinka, the nearest town with basic services. From there, tours to the HAMER villages are organized. Many operators offer 3 to 5 day packages that include transportation, a guide, meals, and accommodation. The prices of these tours usually range from $300 to $500 per person, depending on the duration and level of comfort. The journey to the villages combines paved and dirt roads, passing through breathtaking landscapes of golden plains, rugged hills, and winding rivers. During the trip, it is possible to observe the diversity of tribes in the Omo Valley and stop at local markets where products, livestock, and handicrafts are traded. In addition, attentive travelers may encounter traces of the region's wildlife, from antelopes and baboons to lions, leopards, and other large African predators, and even mythical creatures from the local oral tradition that the HAMER and their neighbors tell to the younger generations. This combination of culture, nature, and mystery creates a unique and rich experience even before reaching the HAMER villages. In terms of accommodation, some tours offer organized camps near the villages, while others allow sleeping in local huts within the community, always with permission and respect for customs. Sleeping in the villages provides a unique opportunity to observe daily life, rituals, and interactions between tribe members, but it requires acting with sensitivity and following local rules. During the stay, meals usually include traditional dishes such as injera, Ethiopian bread, goat or cow meat, and cattle milk. Prices in camps or villages are usually very affordable, between $5 and $10 for a full meal. In addition, local guides explain the symbolism of the rituals, the organization of the community, and the most relevant cultural aspects, making each experience educational and enriching. Having the opportunity to meet the HAMER is like traveling back in time, an immersion in an ancestral culture that lives in a totally different way from most of us. A culture from which we surely have much to learn. Thinking about it, what would you like to see done in your country as the HAMER do? It will be great to read your comments. Thank you. Taking this trip with planning and respect can help us understand why this tribe has managed to preserve its unique identity in the face of modernity and the outside world, and how they are surely happier this way. At Uncensored World, we hope this video has helped you discover one of the most remote and unknown tribes on the planet, and that you found it as interesting as we did. If so, don't hesitate to give us a like. It's the best way to help us continue working to bring you interesting content like this every week. Or like this video you can now watch to discover another of the most mysterious and beautiful places on the planet. Click on it. You're going to enjoy it.